This is a scary horror film. Like, it really did scare me. And this film scared me in a very different way. Both films are based on the exact same real-life exorcism case. But both films could not be more different. One of these films simply wants to scare us, and the other one wants to get us to think. But I'm interested in which one of these films tells the story better. So most people know the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It came out in 2005, but a lot of people don't know that in 2006 a film came out called Requiem that is based on the same story. They both center around the tragic death of Anneliese Michel, a student who died after undergoing like 67 exorcisms. Now, this led to her parents and the priests involved being convicted of negligent homicide. But despite telling the same stories, for me, these films feel like they are arguing with themselves or with each other. So let's start with accuracy. So if we're looking for the film that is closest to the real events, it is Requiem. They change Anneliese's name, but everything else stays the same. It's very grounded in the reality of what actually happened. The setting is certainly more authentic. This is a German film, and this was a German case. The religious pressure in this film is portrayed realistically, and the things that Anneliese was suffering are portrayed better here, I think. You know, the epilepsy and the mental health are front and center of this film. Now, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, on the other hand, takes huge creative liberties. It introduces a US courtroom trial as well as new characters, and it focuses heavily on the supernatural elements of this case. So instead of the epilepsy and mental health being front and center here, this film leads us heavily to believe that this was all supernatural. So in terms of like historical accuracy, I think that Requiem obviously wins. Now, historical accuracy doesn't necessarily make a film better. Ultimately, we are going into these films because we want to be entertained. Me personally, I do want my real life stories represented properly, but from a cinematic or entertainment standpoint, we'll get into it. These films do have different goals with regards to that. Emily Rose is a Hollywood horror movie directed by Scott Derrickson, who later went on to make the film Sinister. Emily Rose does have stunning cinematography and incredible sound design. It also has really wild and really memorable horror sequences. I think Jennifer Carpenter gives one of the greatest possession performances we've ever seen on screen. Requiem is much quieter, and at times it really feels like it's been shot like a documentary. The camera work is really restrained, and the performances feel incredibly natural, and there is no sort of like heavy score that is trying to manipulate us into feeling a certain way. Requiem really creates discomfort through reality itself, through the story itself. Now, I don't think that either approach is objectively better than the other one. One sets out to simply entertain us, while the other one invites us to observe. So I guess on a cinematic level, it is up to you which one you preferred, right? Now, without question, Requiem is a more analytical film. The film is constantly asking us or questioning whether she is suffering from epilepsy, psychosis, religious guilt, or something actually supernatural. It refuses to answer that question for you, and that is in fact the entire point of Requiem. Every scene forces us to question our own beliefs about mental illness, about faith, about the supernatural, about possession. Now, Emily Rose does attempt to explore, these ideas, especially through the whole courtroom drama aspect of this film. But ultimately, Emily Rose does feel more willing to suggest that something supernatural did actually happen. But Requiem is far more interested in ambiguity. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably thinking, sure, but which film is scarier? And for me, it has to be The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So Jennifer Carpenter's physical performance in this film is genuinely disturbing. The contorted body performance and the, really harsh, like, voice work. We have that really famous barn scene, things like waking up at exactly 3 a.m. This film is completely full of really iconic horror sequences, horror moments. Now, I do think that Requiem is scary, but it's not trying to scare you in the same type of way that Emily Rose is trying to scare you. The fear in Requiem is much more of an unsettling feeling. It is trying to unsettle you with the facts, with the reality of what happened here. There is an argument to be had about watching somebody slowly unravel while nobody around them knows how to help you is much scarier than, just like a demon. But if we're talking about all out fear, all out just being terrified, for me, Emily Rose scared me in a way more traditional sense than Requiem did, even though Requiem in itself is still a scary film. Now, depending on how I feel on any given day or what level of horror I want to watch is really the ultimate decider on which film I prefer. Now, if I just want to watch a really good, scary horror film, I'm gonna choose Emily Rose. But if I want to really understand the true tragedy of Anneliese Michel, or if you want to really understand that true tragedy, I would recommend Requiem. I think it would be really interesting for you to just watch both of these films back to back and let me know what you think. Most films based on true stories either try to recreate the events as closely as possible or turn them into entertainment. What's interesting here is that these films almost split those two responsibilities between them. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is trying to make you feel fear. It wants you to experience what it might have been like if anything these priests claimed was actually true. It's dramatic, it's terrifying at times, cinematic, and for me, it's a completely unforgettable horror film. Requiem, on the other hand, almost feels like it has a responsibility to the real person behind the story. It strips away the spectacle and it asks you to sit with an uncomfortable possibility. The possibility that this wasn't a battle between God and the devil, but a tragedy involving faith, mental illness, epilepsy, and the people genuinely believed they were helping. And for me, I think that's why Requiem has stayed with me more. Not because it's a scarier film, but because it's just a sadder film. Now, when you remove all the horror imagery, what you're left with is a young woman whose suffering is interpreted through completely different lenses by everybody around her. Doctors see one thing, priests see another, her family are caught in the middle, and the audience is left asking the same question. Nearly 50 years later, what actually happened? The fact that we're still debating the Anneliese Michel case today probably explains why filmmakers keep returning to it. It sits in this strange space where medicine, religion, psychology, and folklore all collide. No matter what you personally believe, there never seems to be one answer that satisfies everybody. And maybe that's why both of these films work. Neither one pretends to have definitive truths. One leans towards faith, the other leans towards psychology, but both leave enough uncertainty for you to make up your own mind. Now, if somebody asked me which of these two films should you watch, I would say that if you're looking for a genuinely creepy horror film, with some of the best possession horror scenes ever put on screen, absolutely Emily Rose all the way. But if you're interested in the real case and you want something that feels more like a character study than a horror movie, then I'd probably recommend Requiem. I do think that Requiem is one of the most underrated horror movies in the sort of possession subgenre, but both of these films are 100% worth a watch. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with a friend. Share the love. All your likes and comments, they all really help the videos grow and ultimately help the channel grow. Now, if you like content like this, horror deep dives, horror movie recommendation, horror lists, all of that kind of stuff, we're going to be dropping 2 of these videos a week. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss any content. You can also follow me on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook, where I upload, horror videos every single day. There are hundreds of recommendations over on these socials, so you'll never be stuck with what to watch this evening. Don't forget to be good to yourself and be good to other people. I will see you in the next one.